Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Matt from Matt's Bookshelf, and today I'm doing what will hopefully be my last book haul video of the year. Previously on my channel, I've had 2 book haul videos, so this will be my 3rd one, and this is just a collection of some of the classics books I bought over the past month and a half. This isn't a single, one day, buy fest, if you will, but just a collection of the books that I've gathered since about mid-August to today. So with that being said, let's get into it. So these first 2 books come from when I went to a bookstore with my friend Mark, who you know is Drunzo, and they are both mythology books. The first is early Irish mythology. With Mark and Tyler, I'm kind of known as the Irish literature guy because of my obsession with James Joyce over the summer. And at one point Mark said, you should probably pick up this Irish mythology book that's out. It's a Penguin classic. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe someday I'll get it. I had no immediate rush to buy it. And then when we were at the bookstore, he found it. He's like, nah, you need to get this. I'm like, well, it's fate. The Bowler and Finn McCool have decided that I need to buy this book. So here it is, and I'm going to read it somewhat because I'm taking a mythology course right now in my grad school program, and one of the final essays is that I can write about any sort of mythology that I want to, apart from what was already on the rubric. And so I had this book. They don't talk anything about Irish literature in the course, so here's my ticket to have an excuse to read it and to read it fully. And then speaking of that same course, I have Ovid's The Metamorphosis, which I am currently reading for my class. I am probably about 3/4 of the way through it, and for those of you who don't know, Ovid is one of the great Roman poets and probably one of the greatest poets of all time, and this is his sort of retelling of the ancient Greek god mythology story into a Roman setting, and I'm enjoying parts of it. I am very fascinated by Roman history. It's my favorite historical genre, I guess, if you will, to study and research. And so, I like hearing, the sort of mythological reasons behind sort of some cultural practices they have. But at the same time, while reading this, it kind of feels like I'm being dropped into, to make a weird comparison, being dropped into, the MCU, during half of Phase 3. It feels like there's a lot of things that probably Ovid took for granted that his audience knew about at the time, and when I'm reading the story, some of them ring a little hollow because it's I just read this 5-page story, and for sort of no reason, because I didn't have any emotional connection to the characters that are involved in it. But I mean, it's an older form of storytelling. It's not something that I particularly enjoy, but I can appreciate for what it is and for the historical significance of what's going on. And it gets a translation by Rolf Humphreys, and he does a good job. I think the prose is really great in it. It's just that sometimes when I'm reading it feels a little redundant because it's I'm not particularly attached to what's going on, but then again, it is still interesting in its own right. These next 2 books come from another bookstore I went to by myself. I had a gift card, and so I was like, hey, might as well spend it. The first being The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov, yes, and I mean, I've heard great things about this. Again, my friend Mark recommends this a lot. My friend Christina, who watches the channel, recommends this book a lot, and just in the cover alone, how do you make a cover like this? This is insane. The artwork is absolutely crazy, and I feel like if I never even heard of Master Margarita before, I may have just picked up the book on its own because this cover is so crazy. But, I mean, this book has been praised to high heaven at this point. I think that during my December break, I'll probably read it because I want to, have the free time to really, sink into the book and not have to worry about other schoolwork or whatever, and other job work as well. So, hopefully I will read this during Christmas break when I'll have the free time to really focus all my efforts in on it, and I'm excited to actually read it. And then I have Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse, another funny story relating to Mark. Everything relates to Mark Drunzo, if you will. I was over his house, and he has not read Ulysses, but he had an essay collection from Virginia Woolf, and he said that she talks about her experiences reading Ulysses. So I was curious, and I read the passages, and first of all, she doesn't like Ulysses, so, it's an indictment on her, but just reading her writing and her prose, I was like, holy crap, because I've never read any Virginia Woolf before. I was like, holy crap, this is phenomenal, and it's, I've read prose before from authors I've never read before, and I'm like, wow, this is really good, but nothing has really hit me like that, brief passage I read from Virginia Woolf, and I was like, I became kind of obsessed with it, and then at the bookstore I just was talking about where I bought Master Margarita, I saw To the Lighthouse, and I'm like, I just gotta buy it because it's relatively short, and I can't get this prose out of my mind. I really want to actually explore what Virginia Woolf can do. This might be another, winter read for me when I can have time to really focus in on it, and if like one passage entrances me, like it did, I imagine this whole book will be, a phenomenal experience. And then my final two books, which I bought on Amazon, the first being Hypatia by Edward J. Watts. So backstory behind this is not Drunzo related, if you can believe it. I am a huge fan of the Life of Caesar podcast with Ray Harris and Cameron Riley, and they interviewed a California professor, Edward J. Watts. It's like a 2-hour discussion on ancient Rome politics and propaganda, and like the sort of odd situation that upcoming emperors are put in, especially when they are inheriting the throne, as to like how to treat the emperor from before. Like, do you condemn the emperor from before for like making things bad, or do you like praise him, or what have you? And that talk is very interesting to me. And he's a writer, and he's written several nonfiction works on ancient Rome and ancient Greece. So I was like, I got to read something by this guy because he's clearly brilliant. And they mentioned the Hypatia book in it, and Hypatia is a Greek philosopher, and she's sort of known as being like this sort of, as trying to like create arbitration, as trying to create peace between the pagan worshippers and the rising Christian worshippers in Greece. And to a certain extent, she was successful until she was murdered by like angry Christians. But everyone in that podcast, praises her as being this like phenomenal historical figure. And I was like, I'm just gonna buy the book and hopefully read it because it's pretty short. And I'm in, the Greek mythology, and I'm in the Greek mythology course right now. So this will probably only contribute to my readings, hopefully, as like a secondary source. And when you think of Greek philosophers, you usually think of like males. You think of Sophocles and Aristotle. So Hypatia, I'm very, very, very excited to read this at some point. And then finally, we have The Wanting Seed by Anthony Burgess, part of my House of Burgess series, which I will be uploading videos for within the next few weeks or so. As if you watched my House of Burgess announcement video, that got taken down. I got a copyright strike because of music, which in my opinion is kind of crap, but it is what it is. I finished Clockwork Orange. That'll probably be my next video after this one, will be on Clockwork Orange, and then we'll be moving on to The Wanting Seed. And, Clockwork Orange is one of my favorite books, and it's the only Anthony Burgess book I've read, which I mentioned in my intro, my read-along intro series. As I said in that video, most Burgess fans who are well-read in Burgess don't really consider Clockwork Orange to be one of his best works, so hence The Wanting Seed and the other books I'll be reading at some point. And so I probably, after I'm done reading what books I'm reading right now, I'll be moving on to The Wanting Seed. There's not really a huge rush on reading that if you plan on reading along with me, because the Clockwork Orange video will probably be coming out for a little while, but I'm really interested in seeing like the larger scope of Anthony Burgess's work, and from what I gather, The Wanting Seed is a good representation of his writing. And so that's my book haul video. I hope you enjoyed it. I do these videos a lot because I want to know like what books you're interested in hearing me do videos on. Yeah, so those are the books that I bought. A lot of classics that I probably should have read at this point, but I haven't read. But we'll be making up for those mistakes pretty soon, hopefully. And yes, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, check out if you want to see another book haul-esque video. It's not a book haul video, but it's a book video on the books I have to read for my graduate school program for my first semester. And I have other videos as well you should check out. And yeah, expect some Burgess videos coming out soon if I find the motivation to do so. As I said, I'm in school now, and I'm balancing work as well, so not as much time will be contributed to the channel, but I also be making videos as often as I can. And yeah, so thank you. And check out my friends Colorless Wonderland, who hasn't made a video for a little while, but his last video is on Mark something, some guy who tries to tell you how to read. But Tyler tells you not how to read. He tells you that you shouldn't read specifically as this guy on YouTube is telling you how to read. Tyler does read sometimes, and that video is very good. And check out Drunzo as well, because I mentioned him 1,000 times in this video already. He has a video on Sir Gawain in the Green Knight. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but that's a good video. And then Film Frauds, probably by the time this video is out, we'll have a review for James Bond, No Time to Die. So if you want to hear what we think about the movie, go to Film Frauds, because we're bringing it back for a while. And yeah, and then check out my videos first before all that other crap. Thank you, and goodbye.